Welcome back to MythVision Reacts. I'm going to be reacting to the Four Horsemen, HD, our 1 of 2 discussions with Richard Dawkins, episode 1. Ladies and gentlemen, let me just tell you right now, there's no way we're going to do this in 1 or 2 videos. This is a series that I'm going to be reacting to with the Four Horsemen. Each one of them has their own depth and levels and layers to what they bring to the table pertaining to their activism in arguing and criticizing religion, faith, superstition, all of these things. And so we're just going to take it piece by piece. I hope you will enjoy this journey with me by subscribing. Check the bell if you haven't done so. And when you do check the bell, hit all so you're notified every time we do a reaction and you can be here joining us in the community. Like the video, comment what you think about this episode whenever you want. I'm definitely looking forward to hearing from all 4 of them together. What will we get out of these 4? So thank you so much for recommending this. I am paying attention to the audience here, and thank you for being part of this journey. It means the world to me. Let's begin this reaction and see what happens.
One of the things we've all met is the accusation that we are strident or arrogant or vitriolic or shrill. What do we think about that?
Yeah, well, I'm amused by it because I went out of my way in my book to address reasonable religious people, and I test flew the draft with groups.
Just looking at Christopher Hitchens just puffing a cigarette. I imagine the other guys don't smoke. They probably are like, hey, dude, we'll tolerate it, but really wish you wouldn't do it.
Students who were deeply religious. And indeed, the first draft incurred some real anguish. And so I made adjustments. And it didn't do any good in the end because I still got hammered for being.
You could tell, like, right there, Dawkins is turning, looking at Sam. He's getting hammered. Even though he's made adjustments to soften whatever he wrote.
Rude and aggressive. And I came to realize that it's a no-win situation. It's a mug's game. The religions have contrived to make it impossible to disagree with them critically without being rude. You know, they sort of play the hurt feelings card at every opportunity, and you're faced with the choice of, well, am I going to be rude, or am I going to articulate this criticism? I mean, am I going to articulate it, or am I just going to button my lip? And
right. Well, that's what it is to trespass a taboo. I think we're all encountering the fact that religion is held off the table of rational criticism in some kind of formal way, even by, we're discovering, our fellow secularists and our fellow atheists. You know, just leave people to their own superstition, even if it's abject and causing harm. I don't look too closely at it.
Now that was, of course, the point of the title of my book, is there is this spell and we got to break it.
But if the charge of offensiveness in general is to be allowed in public discourse, then without self-pity, I think we should say that we too can be offended and insulted. I mean, I'm not just in disagreement when someone like Tariq Ramadan, accepted now at the high tables of Oxford University as a spokesman, says the most he'll demand when it comes to the stoning of women is a moratorium on it. I find that profoundly much more than annoying.
Right. Yeah.
Insulting, not only insulting, but actually threatening.
But you're not offended. This is you don't take any. I don't see you taking things personally. You're alarmed by the liabilities of certain ways of thinking, as in Ramadan's case.
But he would say, or people like him would say, that if I doubt the historicity of the Prophet Muhammad, I've injured them in their deepest feelings.
Right.
Well, I am in fact. I think all people ought to be offended, at least in their deepest integrity, by, say, the religious proposition that without a supernatural celestial dictatorship, we wouldn't know right from wrong. That we only live by.
But are you really offended by that? Doesn't it just seem wrong?
No, I say only, Sam, that if the offensiveness charge is to be allowed in general and arbitrated by the media, then I think we're entitled to claim that much without being self-pitying or representing ourselves as an oppressed minority, which I think is an opposite danger. I would admit. I'd also that
So is he saying, in effect, if there is any offense that should be taken, it is this. Clearly, they are trapped in this terrible worldview with a horrific totalitarian regime and belief system that if anyone should be offended, it's this encroaching upon our liberty to think and freedom to think and our ideas of learning morality and stuff without these ancient texts being pushed on us. I suspect that's what he's getting at here. So he's not like, oh, I'm so offended, you hurt my feelings, but there's a sense in which, yeah, we're grown-ups, but this is bullshit. And it's offensive that you think that that's what's necessary for us to even have ethics or whatever.
I agree with Daniel that there's no way in which the charge against us can be completely avoided, because what we say does offend the very core of any serious religious person. If we deny the divinity of Jesus, for example, many people will be terrifically shocked and possibly hurt. It's just too bad.
I'm fascinated by the contrast between the amount of offense that's taken by religion and the amount of offense that people take against really anything else, like your artistic taste, your taste in music, your taste in art, your politics. You could be not exactly as rude as you like, but you could be far, far more rude about such things. And I'd quite like to try to quantify that, to do actual research about it, actually test people with statements about their favorite football team or their favorite piece of music or something, and see how far you can go before they take offense, compared to, is there anything else apart from, say, how ugly your face is, that gives such...
Or your husband's or wife's or girl.
Oh, yeah,
face.
Yes.
Bill, it's interesting you say that, because I regularly debate with the terrible man called John Donahue of the Catholic Defense League, and he actually is righteously upset by certain trends in modern art, which tend to draw attention to themselves by blasphemy. For example, Serrano's Bethesda, or the elephant down on the Virgin, and so. And indeed, I think it's quite important that we share with Sophocles and other pre-monotheists a revulsion to desecration or to profanity. That we don't want to see churches desecrated or religious icons trashed and so forth.
Yes.
We share an admiration for at least some of the aesthetic achievements of religion.
Right. I think this whole notion of, I think our criticism is actually more barbed than that, in the sense that we are offending people, but we're also telling them that they're wrong to be offended. I mean, physicists aren't offended when their view of physics is disproved or challenged. I mean, this is just not the way rational minds operate when they're really trying to get at what's true in the world. And religions purport to be representing reality, and yet there's this peevish and tribal and ultimately dangerous reflexive response to having these ideas challenged. I think
because it's wild, and I know they would agree. They start with their worldview explains it, has it figured out. So if their worldview has it figured out, when you challenge that at all, it's dogma, right? It's not we can update, we can change, we can tweak. That's not to say there aren't certain scientists who put a lot of work into their hypothesis, and they might actually try to fight and resist the critiques of their own hypothesis. But overall, the system is meant for upgrade, update, and betterment of the entire program of figuring out what the facts are. Whereas with the belief systems, no, this is it. These are the dogmas, and you better face them.
We're pointing to the total liability of that.
Well, and two, there's no polite way to say to somebody,
you've wasted your life.
Do you realize you've wasted your life? Do you realize that you've just devoted all your efforts and all your goods to the glorification of something which is just a myth? Or have you ever considered even if you say, have you even considered the possibility that maybe you've wasted your life on this? There's no inoffensive way of saying it, but we do have to say it because they should jolly well consider it. Same as we do about our own lives.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes.
Dan Barker's making a collection of clergymen who've lost their faith, but don't dare say so because it's their only living. It's the only thing they know what to do.
I've heard from one of them at least.
Have you?
Yeah.
Yes.
I used to have this when I was younger in arguments with the members of the Communist Party. They sort of knew that it was all up with the Soviet Union. Many of them had suffered a lot and sacrificed a great deal and struggled manfully to keep what they thought was the great ideal alive. Their mainspring had broken, but they couldn't give it up because it would involve a similar concession.
Right.
But that certainly, if anyone said to me, how could you say that to them about the Soviet Union? Didn't you know you were going to really make them cry and hurt their feelings? And I said, don't be ridiculous. Don't be absurd. But it's I find it, in many cases, almost an exactly analogous argument.
When people tell me I'm being rude and vicious and terribly aggressive in a way that I should, I'd say, well, if I were saying these things about the pharmaceutical industry or the oil interests, would it be rude? Would it be off limits? No,
Of course it wouldn't.
Well, I want religion to be treated just the way we treat the pharmaceuticals and the oil industry.
Yeah.
I'm not against pharmaceutical companies. I'm against some of the things they do, but I just want to put religions on the same page with them.
Including denying them tax exemption.
Yeah.
Yes.
And, or in the English case, state subsidy.
I'm curious how religion acquired this charmed status that it has compared to any of these other things. Because somehow we've all bought into it, whether we're religious or not. And that some historical process has led to this immunization of religion against, well, this hyper offense taking that religion is allowed to take.
And what's particularly amusing to me, finally, at first it infuriated me, but now I'm amused, is they've managed to enlist legions of non-religious people who take offense on their behalf.
And how?
In fact,
yes.
the most vicious reviews of my book have been by people who are not themselves religious, but they're terribly afraid of hurting the feelings of the people that are religious, and they chastise me worse than anybody.
Exactly.
It's weird. I have people who have commented on MythVision when I'm critical of apologetics or critical of Christianity or any of the religions really, who are saying I'm agnostic or I'm an atheist, but religion is fundamentally necessary and that we should not be playing with it. Let them have their toy. Don't be critical. Don't be overly critical. And they've been critical of me for being critical about it because they almost act like it's necessary for our society to function, that they have to have this religion or else. That's kind of a scary place to be when you are literally worried that if people are being critical of something that's false, but because people believe it, well, they need to have this make-believe or else. And they're defensive of that, and I don't know their motives. I'm not sure all their motives or why they do it, but it is something that's happened.
My experience, exactly my experience.
And I think, so one of you pointed out how condescending that view is, that it's as though it's like the idea of penitentiaries. I mean, they're other people need them. You know, we must keep these people safely in their midst.
Yes.
Well, I think there's one answer to that question, which may illuminate a difference that or at least a difference that I have with I think maybe all three of you. There's something about, I mean, I still use words like spiritual and mystical without furrowing my brow too much, and to the consternation of many atheists. I think there is a range of experience that is rare and that is only talked about without obvious qualms in religious discourse. And because it's only talked about in religious discourse, it is just riddled with superstition, and it's used to cash out various metaphysical schemes, which it can't reasonably do. But clearly people have extraordinary experiences, whether they have them on LSD or they have them because they were alone in a cave for a year, or they have them because they just happen to have the neurology that is particularly labile that allows for it. But people have self-transcending experiences, and people have the best day of their life where everything seemed, they seemed at one with nature. And for that, because religion seems to be the only game in town in talking about those experiences and dignifying them, that's one reason why I think it seems to be taboo to criticize it, because you're talking about the most important moments in people's lives and trashing them, at least from their view.
Well, I don't have to agree with you, Sam, in order to say that it's a very good thing you're saying that sort of thing, because it shows that, as you say, religion is not the only game in town when it comes to being spiritual. It's like it's a good idea to have somebody from the political right who is an atheist, because otherwise there's a confusion of values. which doesn't help us. And it's much better to have this diversity in other areas. I mean, I think I sort of do agree with you, but even if I didn't, I think it was valuable to have that.
Right.
If one
I must say before they continue that I do like what Sam's saying. Sam is saying there is a very, very profound experience humans have all across the board from various religions of the world. And when we're being critical of these religions, they think, well, you're dismissing all of these fantastic experiences you clearly haven't had. And I think Sam has had experiences like I have. It's unfortunate that when we're so critical of the religions, we often don't actually go to explain, hey, you do understand this is a human phenomenon that you can tap into purely from meditation. You know, there are scientific approaches that can lead us to have these profound experiences that you had thinking it was Krishna, that you had thinking it was Jesus or Muhammad or whoever. We're trying to tell you, you don't need those gods, you don't need those things to have these profound experiences as a human. But because these are the peak moments within the religious systems, and they don't hear atheists describe or give this kind of category within the groups of atheism that are out there, they feel like they're trapped to have to remain and accept their experience as true with their divinity, their God, their religion, their culture, whatever, or they have to forsake that experience. And I say, no, we need to give them some transition. Darren Brown talks about this kind of stuff as well, the mentalist. He's a magician. So if you haven't checked him out, we'll have to go review and react to some of his stuff.
could make one change, and only one, mine would be to distinguish the numinous from the supernatural.
Yes.
Right.
You had a marvelous quotation from Francis Collins, the genome pioneer, who said, while mountaineering one day, he was just overcome by the landscape, and then went down on his knees and accepted Jesus Christ. A complete non sequitur.
Yeah,
it's never even been suggested that Jesus Christ created that landscape.
Right. A frozen waterfall in three
parts,
which,
yeah.
I mean, the mind of the Trinity.
Well, yeah, absolutely. We're all triune in one way or another. We're programmed for that. That's very clear. There wouldn't ever have been a four-headed God.
Right.
You know that from experience. But that would be an enormous...
Well, the four-headed God is sitting right in front of us on the screen. Totally kidding.
distinction to make, and I think it would clear up a lot of people's confusion that what we have in our emotions, the surplus value of our personalities, the bits that aren't particularly useful for our evolution, or that we can't prove are, but that do belong to us all the same, don't belong to the supernatural and are not to be conscripted or annexed by any priesthood.
Yes, it's a sad fact that people, in a sense, won't trust their own valuing of their numinous experiences. They think it isn't really as good as it seems unless it's from God, unless it's some kind of a proof of religion. No, it's just as wonderful as it seems. It's just as important. It is the best moment in your life. And it's the moment when you forget yourself and become better than you ever thought you could be in some way, and see in all humbleness the wonderfulness of nature. That's it, and that's wonderful. But it doesn't add anything to say, golly, that has to have been given to me by somebody even more wonderful.
I think and I don't know enough about Daniel Dennett, but out of Richard Dawkins and particularly Christopher Hitchens, Sam Harris, I think, has been the closest that I have experienced, because I've listened to him more than Dennett, to being that gentle, sober mind of trying to explain that there are profound experiences that humans have that is generally amazing. Oftentimes, everyone else is just poo-pooing their religions and not being able to replace them with something that can help people realize, like, hey, hold on, I can actually be a non-religious, non-believer and have all the wonders and even the mystical experiences I had that we called spiritual experiences or mystical. As a non-believer, I can have these profound moments that I would have thought, is this God? I remember tapping into this when I thought God was it. But now that I don't think God is it, it's still there. There's something fantastic about the experience.
Well, it's hijacked, hasn't it?
It's also, I'm afraid, I think it's a deformity or shortcoming in the human personality, frankly, because the religion keeps stressing how humble it is and how meek it is and how accepting and almost to the point of self-abnegation is, but actually it makes extraordinarily arrogant claims for these moments. It says that I suddenly realized that the universe was all about me.
Yeah.
Yes.
And felt terrifically humble about it. Come on, we can laugh people out of that, I believe.
Right.
Ladies and gentlemen, part 1 of this Four Horsemen series. I'm really looking forward to hearing the rest of this. I mean, clearly you can't critique the religion without them feeling attacked, and it's so personal. And even if you're just being gentle about it, and then also these profound experiences that they're talking about, there's a lot of interesting things. What are your thoughts about what you heard? I'm really curious to hear from you. I love to see what you have to say, your recommendations that are in the comments. So make sure you're interacting there. YouTube rewards channels, by the way, that you actually are commenting on and interacting in. So please consider doing that for our channel to help our community that you're part of grow. Join the community if you haven't already by subscribing and check the bell. Become, part of the family. If you hit the bell and hit all, you'll be notified every time I drop a new one. Also, like the video, share it to your community, let other people know, hey, come join. We're all about this stuff. I really love learning, and I love the passion a lot of you have that you show within your comments. It's like I'm just now approaching some of the stuff you've been digging into for decades. So yeah, I might be Johnny come late, but I'm here nonetheless, and I'm here to explore and to listen to these profound minds and enjoy these things as I react. So again, I just want to say thank you to everyone out there. It means the world to me. I can't tell you in words how important it is to know that people care and that people are there in the audience just rooting on, cheering on, and joining in this conversation. I really appreciate you. So until next time, I'll see you then.